What's up, Facebook? Good afternoon. Joe Bernstein coming at ya with some insight, some wisdom, a little story from this morning. So, what I want to talk to you today about is Stoicism and emotional liberation. A lot of the time, men tend to think that the path is to develop more Stoicism. Recently, Stoicism, Buddhism, and the strict sects of like Zen Buddhism have become all the rage in the world of high performing men. Silicon Valley, investors, venture capitalists, etc., CEOs, VPs, executives, leaders, that kind of shit. People are getting really into the idea of Stoicism or Buddhism, and I'm all about it, but you really do have to cross train your mind and your emotions. It can't just be about practicing Stoicism or just be about practicing non-attachment and non-reaction, etc. We need to do more than just that. So I was at coffee this morning with a guy who I'm really excited about working with. He expressed that he's very interested in being a new client, and he's a badass. I actually love him. I think he's so interesting. He's really unique. He's very successful. He knows what he's doing. He's kind of an expert in a lot of fields, and it's just mind blowing. I get to hang out with guys like this, right? So we're having coffee, and he said he works really hard on meditating and stoicism, and he wants to get to this place where he has emotional regulation, where he doesn't want to be thrown off by any stimulus. And I totally value that. I totally get that. For me in my world, that was part of my liberation factor, was when I learned to actually create enough mindfulness that I could present a stoic front, but people get confused. He basically said to me, I told my wife that my goal is to be in a place where nothing bothers me. Nothing can frustrate me. Nothing can tick me off. And he said that she told him, well, that's trying to become non-human. I don't want to be married to a robot. And so he said, Joe, what's up with this? What do you think? And I said, well, you're both right. She's right. If all you do is practice stoicism and Buddhism and non-attachment and capacity to move through pain and discomfort without emotion, then you're no longer human. You've taken away your humanity. You no longer have the capacity to connect with yourself because you're not aware of your emotions. Your emotions become less free and more constipated and less liberated. When you lose connection with yourself, you will lose connection with everybody around you, and you'll be a boring nobody, right? So that's not why we want to practice Buddhism. That's not why we want to learn to be unattached. That's not why we want to practice Stoicism or learn Stoicism. So Stoicism is not emotional constipation. But on the other end, you can't just practice emotional liberation. You can't just practice getting in touch with your emotions and letting your emotions lead you everywhere. You'll be aimless and you'll just dump your shit all over people around you. And you'll actually fall into holes of grief. You'll fall into holes of fear. I know guys who learn to do emotional work through mental transformational work, through therapy, through meditation, and they always show up in a place of being so emotional, and they don't realize the impact on their relationships. They don't realize the impact on their work. Their life doesn't necessarily get better. They just uncork their emotions so they're free flowing. But when emotions are free flowing and we don't have any sort of structures around them, then they are going to overflow. They're going to flood the village and kill everybody in it, right? You're not going to have great relationships. You're not going to have great health. You're not going to have a great career if you're all emotional liberation. Just like you're not going to have great relationships, great health, great career, great community life, great time with your kids, meaningful experiences if you're all stoic and unattached. So you have to practice both. You have to be the person who can integrate free-flowing experiences of their emotion, and while feeling those emotions, not let that take you off of your path, not let that move you into unconsciousness where you act like a jerk to people or yourself, or you go into shadow and you just start doing shady shit everywhere. The work is to cross-train your mind and your emotions. The work is to be able to be grounded, solid, focused, on point, not being thrown off or destroyed by the emotional ups and downs and the challenges of life, but not denying them either, not moving to a place where you cannot feel yourself and you cannot feel your emotions, because in that way, you'll never actually have true wisdom, true intuition, and you will be disconnected from the people in your life because you don't have anywhere to go to connect to them because you're not connected with yourself. So the takeaway is that if you want to achieve a lot in life, if you want to have great relationships and you want great health, then you must integrate your emotional liberation with emotional regulation. It's not one or the other. As men, we often get confused and we get fooled into binaries. Because if you only do one or the other, you're either going to be a hot mess, spewing your shit all over the place, being led around by your emotions, and not being able to be functional and achieve a lot in your life. And you'll frankly be a burden to others, and they'll be doing a lot of your emotional labor. Or you'll be a bland nobody who doesn't connect with anyone, who disconnects from their intuition, who doesn't have wisdom, who doesn't actually know how to lead a life full of meaning, because meaning derives from emotion. So that's what I got for you today. So this is not a just for today. This is not something you can do simply. I want you to learn to practice both. The work I do with people helps them practice both, but there's lots of ways to learn to practice both. So just like you don't want to only be a runner, you don't want to only be a lifter, you want to be able to do multiple things. You want to run, you want to lift, you want to do yoga, you want to be able to stretch, you need to be able to have balance in your movement, you need to be able to have strength in your movement and endurance in your movement, or else you're going to get injured or you're not going to be able to do things as you age. Just like we need to cross-train our bodies if we want to be fully embodied and healthy for a lifetime, we need to cross-train that mind and the emotions. I've repeated that 3 or 4 times now. I hope it sinks in. If you're digging this, go ahead and drop a comment below. That's what I got for you today. Peace.